Join us now for the City of Dillon Council meeting, brought to you by Hometown TV, serving Dillon and Marion counties.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father which art in heaven, dear Lord God, we thank you for your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Dear Lord God, we thank you for your many manifold blessings you bestowed upon each and every one of us on a daily basis. Dear Lord God, we ask that you continuously bless our mayor and city council on tonight, as well as our city manager, our city attorney, and the department heads, as we make decisions for the betterment of all the citizens of Dillon. And in everything we do, we pray we be careful to give your name the glory, your name the honor, and your name the praise. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Well, I got a good crowd. Thanks for coming out. Glad you're concerned about the business of the city. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Before you could, Dr. Walsh, need to add an executive session.
Okay.
I got some information this morning on First Bank that we need to discuss in executive session.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of an executive session to discuss First Bank? Okay. Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Also need to remove the last item under new business, which will be a part of this discussion in executive session.
Okay. Can we amend that? Well, can I get a motion to remove that?
That would be S&ND Environmental Services.
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second.
All those in favor? Okay. Okay, can I get approval for the regular meeting and the regular meeting September 9th and the special meeting September 30th?
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. You know, I don't have a whole lot to report. Personally, we're looking at a building downtown to renovate, and I noticed Saturday morning, and Bert, I'm not throwing y'all under the bus, but you know those beds that specifically I was looking at the Price building. Those have lights in them, or they have timers? No, there's not electricity there.
Yeah, it's electricity. What it is a receptacle.
Okay.
Is what's in there.
So you have the opportunity if we wanted to add lighting to those.
Possibly, yes, sir.
And there, that would that certainly enhance the looks of our downtown, and you know those beds.
Like some landscape lighting or something.
Yeah, you know something pretty simple, low voltage. It probably I don't know. You'd have to have a meter on each one of those because.
Well, it's metered.
Yeah, they're metered now. We did some
It's got outlets on it.
in the Railroad Avenue, South and North Railroad Avenue.
Right.
We redid those back in the spring, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were
Well, this
eroded
sprinkler, I mean, the
Yeah.
things hanging out that far, and it just really looks unkept. You know, and I don't know, and like I say,
Well,
I know you're busy.
I'm bringing up something in my report
Okay, all right.
to look at some of that as well.
Okay, all right, good. But other than that, I'm a little concerned about where we are with our potential development as it relates to the inland port. You know, I don't know. I feel I'm a bit out of the loop because I'm not included in it. I'm not saying that I need to be included in it, but I just can't believe that there's not some role that mayor pro tem, whatever, shouldn't have in trying to help maximize our potential with the growth opportunities with the inland port. I've heard nothing.
Neither have I.
And that's, you know, I don't know what that's about. I went to the meeting that was the private public partnership, and you know, it was an expensive meeting for me, and I felt like I did very little there and contributed very little and got very little out of it. So I'm not sure that that'll be something that I'll go back to. But anyway, if you know, maybe touch base with Clay and see what we can do as.
Well, usually we're always on the back end because the only thing we have to quote unquote offer is sewer.
Yeah.
So we're usually on the back end of those things.
Well, and that's because why?
That's
I mean, to me,
because we don't have anything else on the table. I mean,
I know, but we've got all these, you know, as people look at Dillon, they go to that internet, and the first thing they pull up is our crime. And if that's what people think of Dillon, then, you know, and don't see the city that had a unqualified audit for 12, 15 years. I mean, we do things right here. We've got a great city. We got a great life here. We got, you know, and nobody knows about it. Nobody. We have recruits that come in, and I was critical of the hospital because of the way they were recruiting, and we turned that around a little bit where now instead of just visiting and going out to a nice restaurant, not in Dillon, they come here and they have a party with people around their same age. And we've had success getting 2 or 3 physicians that are moving to the area. So, you know, the people, we have to get the people out there so that some of these industrial leaders that are heading the plants are able to see that they can have a life here, and the spouses can see that they have a life here, and the schools. And anyway. So I don't have a lot to say. We had the Starbucks. I think that broke ground, correct?
they were digging out there and stopping off some stuff this afternoon.
I don't have any connection to that as well, but I know that many of these companies partner with other companies, and just looking at the venue that they're moving into. I just think there's other things coming, and it's just a gut feeling. I have no inside information, but things as I know are running smoothly. I reviewed the budget at length, and I think that we'll go over a little bit of that when Janet does her finance report. But that's all I have.
Or you should have found when you came in front of you, I did a report today, last month, and been several months past that we've talked about stormwater and our plans to hire additional employees to actually do this operation. So I kind of broke down some information along with an attachment that Janet did for me as well to show you the salaries on the second page of what it cost us for an employee at $11 per hour and $15 per hour. And then on the first page, I give you information of what the revenue balance is as of September 30th of this year, which is $168,068. What we're projecting to collect October of this year through June 2020, which was an additional $104,000.
What's the annual budget of that?
138.
No, annual receipts. That's what we anticipate.
Yeah.
138,000.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
And we'll have 62,000 as our Vector
Truck payment, which is due this month.
And we've got 2 more of that.
Yes.
But probably to be on the safe side, we ought to include a capital. Part of our budget is capital outlay. We ought to leave. We can't eat that whole 138,000 up.
Oh,
for employees,
absolutely.
so.
Absolutely. And if you just look at that, you know, it's showing you at the end of June 30th, 2020, if we would hire 2 employees starting in January of 2020, which would be the last 2 quarters of our fiscal year, we would have a total projected balance of $168,270. And then just take that same numbers and move it down to the next 2 years that we still have the $62,444 Vector truck payment in October of 2020 and October of 2021. At the end of the year of June 30th, 2022, we'd have $148,811. Now, all that being said, there's no capital projects involved in that money. There's no fuel cost in this projections. There's no equipment that we'd have to rent, no materials that we would need to do anything like that. I just, to give you an idea of what we had, and I put in, just to have a starting point, back up on the top of this, salaries for 2 employees, January through June 2020, which would be, if we did something, that would be the earliest I think we could do anything.
When is that?
This coming January.
Okay.
Which, based
Why do
on...
you think we need 2 at a time? I mean, Burke,
Well, if I'm gonna run the truck and do what we're supposed to do, we're gonna need 2.
2 people.
Yeah, it's a 2-man
All right,
operation.
you're gonna run the truck, so we don't need somebody making $20 an hour running the truck, is that?
No, the person that we've hired to run the truck is $15 an hour roughly.
Okay.
And then the labor would be $11 an hour.
How much time you dedicating to the storm drains right now, Glenn?
When we can, right?
When you can?
Yeah.
How about the CDL drivers? We hired any in the last 2 months?
Yes, sir, we hired one.
Hired one. He came back.
It's a,
We hired him
I
to do,
had to switch some people around.
but that would be just a ballpark, very, very general projection on what those expenses would be for the next 2.5 years, starting January of this year. Once again, this $148,000 that I'm projecting would be money in hand. There's no money taken out of all of this for
Capital.
for
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just
Right.
somebody to run the truck, somebody to
Right.
clean. There's no material. We
Did you have
just
any
did.
flooding last night?
No, not in my knowledge. We had about 1 inch of rain. But
And it came down
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
And one example I'll give you that where we've done something so far as far as materials, and we're cleaning canals as we go and some catch basins, but we had to replace 200 foot of pipe off of Roberts Road. Now the state gave us the 200 foot of pipe, but if we went out and bought it, it was what, about $5,000
Yes, sir.
for pipe. We had probably $500 in some other material. And how much, we rented a small Treco.
Yes, sir.
How much was that?
I think it was like 2,300.
So, we had roughly about $9 grand just in 200 foot of pipe that we replaced. Even though,
And the pipe was free.
well, when I say it would have been about 9
Oh,
grand
okay.
with the $5,000 worth of pipe. And that was a huge pipe.
Yeah, it's a big pipe, 30-inch pipe.
And not that there's many like
What
that we could
fed
do.
that? I mean, is it
Lee
30
Circle,
inch?
Johnson
Yeah,
Drive.
was there a 30-inch pipe coming into it?
No.
There was a 24 coming into it, but the pipe it was coming into was like a 15 to 18-inch pipe that was half collapsed. It was old Orangeburg pipe.
But it was going to the
Yeah,
lake.
so what we had was a bigger pipe coming to a smaller pipe, which
Yeah.
is not the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
So it's supposed to be a smaller to a bigger.
Bigger.
And when you become the smaller, you want to.
Is it more than one pipe?
No, it's just one pipe, but I think we did ourselves some good with this one.
And there's more out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we know there's more out there.
Some of those projects we're gonna have to go to the state for. I mean, like the one behind East, don't you have a lot of collapse?
Well,
That's sewer
that's
line. That's a sewer line issue there.
I thought that was storm drain.
That's sewer. That's sewer. We replaced some of that about 3 or 4 years ago. We've got to replace more. That's not stormwater, that's sewer.
We got a lot of I&I there. I mean,
Don't know.
it's not good to have leaking sewage.
No, it's not.
Well,
It's
it's not,
just,
the sewage is not really leaking, it's probably, the pipes have settled a little bit, so you draw in I and I.
Okay.
You're not actually leaking sewage,
Okay.
you're just getting groundwater that's penetrating the pipe. And when that happens, it sucks a little sand, so the ground gives.
Okay. All right.
So when do we initiate this charge? for the stormwater to the taxpayer?
2 years ago.
July of 18.
July of 18?
Yeah, July of 18. Because we collected,
Collect a year before we.
we collected 130 some odd thousand in the first year. We've collected so far 34,000, I believe. Come up to that 160 some odd
Yeah, it's
thousand.
25% of budget. I know, I remember that number. It was, right on what it's supposed to be.
So what's your thoughts?
So you're saying it's affordable January 20.
Pardon?
You're saying it's affordable within our budget line at 41,484, which is half. So your suggestion would be we could start it January?
Well, that would be the earliest I would suggest we start. Now, once again, in all of this breakdown, there's no cost associated with doing anything other than taking the truck, cleaning out lines. There's no cost in replacing.
So what's the expected cost to be on the 168,207 we have left over? I mean, if y'all have any projections or what else our cost would be?
No, not until we get to them and see. I mean,
Well, it's just, you never know when you have a, equipment breakdown or you run into some bad pipe that you may have to, spend some extra money on. If we have a storm, you may have to rent some equipment. It's what we've done in the past. But, I think, if we're talking to Lynn, we think it's feasible.
So it's feasible, so obviously June 30th of 22 at 148,811, that's our final payment. Then that would go up by the next year.
that
By that amount of
62,444 would be
200.
gone.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but and when I think of a project, materials are gonna be about 50%, and I know that it's a little different when you're budgeting, but, if we're gonna do projects, we need to probably leave some money in capital in order to be able to do the projects other than just clean. Hopefully we can get through the payment of the vacuum truck before we have to do that. But I mean, 62,000 in that department is not going to go very far towards your materials.
But Bert has a way to cover this until, if we waited until the next fiscal year at July 20,
What we're doing right now,
we would
And
be
then
able to
just
cover
keep-
stuff in a 6-month
but
period.
just to get you caught up, when council agreed and voted to put this stormwater fee on, the idea was to hire 2 people to do it on a daily basis.
Correct.
Now, it's just really trying to figure out when is that the appropriate time to do it. It is the key. Right now, I hate to use the word haphazardly, but, that's what we're doing at this point in time.
Yeah.
We spent a good bit of time in the summer and up till the 1st of September trying to do some things in certain areas. But, putting 2 people on today or next year or whenever is not going to resolve our problems. It's just going to help us get there a little quicker. Because we won't know until we run into something and have to dig up to see what it is. And then,
And we don't know what we've done already.
that is true.
I mean, I think we've made a big
We're
dent.
very anxious.
Mhm.
to-
Yeah. I don't want to
We
see
don't
it.
want to pray
don't
for
wanna
rain,
see
but
a
we'd like to
flood.
see some just to test our
We-
eyes.
we were
I'd like to have
fortunate.
a few inches of rain this season.
We were fortunate on this one project we did off of Roberts Road that the state gave us the pipe. Not saying they won't do that on other ones as well,
Yeah.
but then again, who knows? There's not a guarantee there.
Now, also, we've done a lot of ditching. We've recently, hopefully fixed the problem off of South, what drains the South 4th, 8th, and 10th area. The big canal we've got in, and it's probably never been in. I hadn't been in it 20 years, and we found a big beaver dam in there that was holding a lot of the water back, and we got that out. Once it came out, the water dropped all the way back to town, over 2 foot overnight. So, now we've got that opened up, but we can get in there and monitor it more routinely, so hopefully that's going to help our problem a lot also.
Well, the way it looks to me, if you balance your numbers out, if we wait until the next fiscal year, we would have 200 running into the year. And that would obviously be enough to pad us out running from that point on.
Do you think that would give you time to get ready for the next hurricane season?
You talking about starting-
Delaying 6 months, putting
Starting
these
in
people
July?
on, starting in July?
I'll be frankly
Bert,
honest with you, the way we do it now.
Bert, you tell us what you need. I mean, do you need them in January, or can you wait to June?
Well, the goal is to do as much as we can during the winter time, because then we can have not just 2 people, we may have 4 people
Right.
doing it from other
Right.
sections of his department, because that's when the grass cutting is done and things of that nature.
Obviously, if you got 2 more people, you can do more work.
This is much needed in the city. I'm gonna be
It
honest
is.
with you.
It is
We
much
really
needed.
need to take advantage of this.
They
We're
probably
doing this.
need
The
to
way we
push it
do it
forward in
now
January.
is, it's mostly on complaint basis. Because we have to, most of the guys that do one job, they have to do all the jobs. So we'll have to put this off and go do this. So if you had the 2 people,
Yeah.
you would be ahead.
So what you're saying is hurricane season would start obviously toward the end of July. We could grab hold of January in the winter here and go ahead and make a,
And start doing
Kick-start it.
Start doing some.
I mean, you never
yeah,
can catch up.
that's a good point.
And it will not affect the budget from a need, if we're taking it out of this fund.
No,
We won't have
and
to.
the only thing we'd have to do is
We gotta
next
do it.
month, if you agree to do this, is next month we have to come back with a budget amendment for it.
Mhm.
We'd have to do that.
Where do, on Third Avenue, right, Third Avenue and Carmack Drive, Carmack Avenue, where do those ditches run that water off to?
Sir,
Where that water run off to?
on
Oh,
Third,
from Third, when it go down to Carmack Avenue, go back to Rapid Boulevard.
yeah, it goes out behind Save-A-Lot and goes kind of back towards Mill Pond Apartments, and it goes out towards the railroad track and goes towards the river.
Runs parallel to the railroad track.
Right.
Goes under
So it
Congress
go under,
Drive.
it go under Rapid Boulevard?
Yes, sir.
Right there,
Right by
little
where the oil
Caesars.
change place is out on the corner by Save-A-Lot. Comes out right there, there's a big ditch right there, comes it out where it comes.
Well, those ditches on Third pretty good, but those one on Rapid Boulevard, they need digging out so they can reach down to the other, where they go under that. Cause one part of that is closed all the way off, where the water can't run down. You know what I mean?
You get with me and show me, and we'll
All
do
right,
what
we
we can
get
to
it,
do it.
we get this.
So, is council directing him to bring back an amendment to the budget? I reckon we need that in a motion.
Make a motion and bring it back to the budget.
Second.
All those in favor?
We'll bring back ordinance next month to
Okay.
amend the budget. And then if that passes, we'll have a second reading in December and we can start advertising. And hopefully have someone in place come January. Second item I have, just piggybacking off of where you're talking about the little planters on Main Street. Bert went out and measured the parking spaces we have on Main from Martin Luther King up to Railroad Avenue at this point in time. And they're roughly 10 feet wide and about 18 feet in length. If we took out the 2 middle planters on each side of the block, there's 4 all total, 1 on each corner and then 2 in the middle. If we took those 2 out on each side of the block, which would be a total of 4, we possibly could add additional 3 to 4 parking spots.
Total
Per block.
Per block.
Per block.
on each side?
On the 2 on
No.
2 on one side, 2 on another side.
So you lose a lot of parking the way they're angled, then you got the 2 on the end, so you got to fit them in between those 2. And, you can possibly, most of them are 10 feet wide now, you could bring them in a foot. You make a gain 2 a block on one side, or it may be 1. It'd be, that's just a little better measuring, we briefly measured it. But it's, you could possibly gain 2 spots on one side, so 2 on the other, be 4 spots.
Just, we spend so much money on revitalizing downtown, and basically we're just, we're gonna go backwards.
Well, you got to remember, that was 20 years ago. And at the time, that was council's thought to do, and it still may be council's thought to do. We got to look at maybe, enticing in another way if parking is an issue, which, hopefully it is an issue, but the issue would be because we're booming businesses on Main Street, and every store has something going on now. And we bring this up, or I bring it up, just to let you know that I will go forward with the DOT, because it may be too cost prohibitive also, because I'm not sure what they will make us do. Now, we took out that middle island on east of 301 on Main, and there was about $35,000 worth of asphalt work, which the C funds are paying for that. They haven't paid us yet. They're reimbursing us for that. But we took the middle island out, and that was one of the reasons we had to do the whole road or that block. I don't know if we would have to do that, excuse me, if we took out some of those planters on the curb side. They may not, or they may, I don't know, we'd have to find out. And then it may be just too costly where we couldn't do it. But I think it's something we need to look at.
Well, I mean, that direction of council, I mean,
Well,
I don't want to make a
direction,
decision
yeah.
tonight.
No,
I mean, we
not
need-
at all.
We
I think we need
know what
to-
the cost
Yes.
is, what DOT says. I mean, this is
That is correct.
something that, we need to really look at.
No, there's no, tonight's not
Kind of need
a,
to get a definite on how much parking we will actually create.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not gonna create, but,
Couple of parking spaces. I'm still real in favor of trying to gut a central building, in the block, and try to access back to some nice parking and that we do, and make a nice, like we did on MacArthur next to the theater. I just think that it's just hard, we take that out. I mean, the whole idea was to soften up what it looks like downtown, and you take those out, it's just going to get hard again. And if we have opportunities for parking, I mean, I want the parking, and I think council does, but I don't want to do it at a cost of aesthetics.
and then the last thing I have is also on Main Street. I think last month or month before, there was discussion by council about the island on East Main beside Pizza Hut, and maybe taking that one out. King's, I said Pizza Hut, thank you. King's, look at taking that out. So I've asked Terry Marsh, who helped us with the one on the east side of 301, to get with DOT and see if this is possible and what kind of cost estimate that would be.
And I don't understand why the traffic coming from the beach would be an issue, but the traffic going that way, how often is that a problem?
I don't know that it is. I mean, not from, I go down to a good bit. The only thing you could do is if you took it out, it would give the left turning lane a little more room to get in to turn left at 301, but other than that, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, is there any way that what we're discussing right now could be an executive session?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, my thought on the opposite side of the railroad, when you get to MacArthur, all the way down to Main Street.
301?
I mean, my thought perspective would be to remove those planters all the way to Main and down MacArthur and open that up to 2 lanes. And it would give you more exposure down Hampton to keep more activity in that area so you won't have the problem we have on Hampton Street. But the point is, the value from that would be, we have empty property down there, and I know it's privately owned, that doesn't matter to me. But from an infrastructure standpoint of view, if we open that up, we will be able to have our parking back for that corner, on both corners, like we used to have with the Belt Building and the other buildings. Someone could be able to either buy it or build on it, and that would help our downtown to have new structures. But we're gonna have to.
We sold that lot to Nasby.
Well, I know it's privately owned, but the point is, they can't do anything with it. He's the only one that has use for it. But I'm saying if you did, it could get the potential for someone to buy it and build on it. And it would, I mean, everybody here and in this community want things to be built. I mean, we're not taking care of these planters as it is. I mean, you can walk downtown, half the plants are dead, 3/4 of the plants are dead. The larger trees need to be cut down. You can't even see the buildings. Crepe myrtles need to be trimmed every February. You could change your planning, go ahead and show exposure to the street, to the city, to the building, and maybe people be encouraged to fix the buildings up. I know they have to trade hands down the line, and I'm just thinking from a capitalist standpoint of view, we got to move the buildings. Obviously, they're being sold as we speak. Obviously, they are. And there's other investors that want to buy these buildings, but there's always something, the look, y'all, it's just not there. And if we're not budgeting to take care of it, then we've got too much of it.
It is a handful for Burt's people to do that on a daily basis with the number of people that we have.
Well, see, like in Burt's perspective, every corner planter, you had irrigation to the corner, truck runs over it, irrigation is destroyed. Irrigation should have be put in the center. The electrical should have been in the center, away from anybody getting to it from a car or truck. I mean, I don't know who made these designs, and I know it was done 30 odd years ago, but if we do not remodel, we're gonna lose a lot of buildings downtown. And I heard a lot of it walking.
The middle island though, that Terry Morris is talking to the state, when do you feel like you're gonna get some information back?
Hopefully, I met with him last week before last, after we could find our old plans that we had. And he was taking it to the state, and he's got to draw it up what we.
Well, I can
check
tell
that
you,
out.
by you removing that other one, you got rave reviews. People are just so excited that mess is gone.
So hopefully, it might be next month. I have something back from him. On that.
Mayor, no disrespect to green spaces of them all part, but I think we can maintain it better contractually and budget it better. We've got so much to take care of. These guys cannot take care of it. I look at it and it overwhelms me just riding around looking at it, and I have.
And all this, what I'm giving you is information and information on it. There's no, like I said, we're working on it just to see what it would be, and then we'll bring it back to council for approval, and that could be November, December, first year, depending on how long it takes us to get the information. That's all I have at this point.
All right, finance, Janet?
All right. In general fund, all our cash accounts equal $1,780,903. Our revenues for 2019 was $1,400,894. Out of that, though, $252,085, that was loan proceeds. So you take that out, and we would only have $261,292 more in 2019 than we did in 2018. Then on our expenses, we had, in 2018, we had $1,591,432. In 2019, year-to-date, we got $1,954,338. But out of that, the $362,906, we should take away the $252,085. The loan where we paid that would leave $110,821 difference.
So still ahead.
Well, we spent more in 2019 than we did on.
We spent more, but we've also got higher revenues.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we've got, our revenues
Yeah.
over expenses
Right.
are plus 100. Let me ask you this, complex and street lighting is at 33% of budget. That's line item 1100380. We're at 25%. That seems like that would be a pretty constant thing. Why would that be? We just miss budget?
Where is
or-
that?
1100.
Okay, complex of street lighting.
Yeah.
Is that all street lighting? Is that
Yes.
what that is?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's how the bills come in and how they're paid. It's how it hits the budget.
Now, I didn't get the line item on this, but tort and liability, we're already at 50% of budget, and we're 3 months in.
And
Is that
that's paid,
something that
that's
we
kind of paid at one time.
Paid at one time, okay.
That's not a monthly.
What I was hoping.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not a monthly payment.
All right.
Could I
It may be
ask,
paid in quarters.
could I ask a few questions? I highlighted a few items of mine. I noticed we have a good many areas that we're kind of at over budget.
And which one are you looking at?
I was looking at, obviously, the City of Dillon Water and Sewer financial highlight. On that third page back, you got, I'm not for sure
Check out
what,
that. She's gonna get
water and sewer.
that. Yeah,
She ain't got to.
she ain't got to that yet. She'll get
All right.
that. Yeah.
Don't you got anything in general fund? Is that it?
In the general, no.
What do you have in water and sewer?
You gonna do water and sewer next?
Yes.
In water and sewer on the third page, you had diesel. What is that? And we're already over
A lot of that's
budget.
generators and pumps that we had to rent
And that was
bypass
for,
pump and all.
okay.
Now, you tell me what you show in there, making sure I'm on the right one. It shows diesel where we budgeted $200.
And we already spent $390.
Yeah, that's just because we use more diesel than we brought in some generators.
So that'd be something we adjust for the next fiscal year. Okay.
That's correct.
How about the safety equipment gloves, and we're already almost to it? Is that something we're gonna continue? We're at $725.
$1,000, we've already spent $752, yeah, it won't be over 1,000, shouldn't it?
The other one I have, at the fifth page, under unemployment. Now, why would unemployment, we would be over budget? Are we paying,
We pay that annually.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're paying it at what date?
We pay around the 1st of July. Yeah.
So you doubled up.
Yeah, we pay, no, let me see now. I'd have to go back and check that, but then that
What's it say?
also covers anybody that we pay unemployment on.
Because they're almost double.
Yeah. It is based on your salaries and the departments you're in.
Down at the bottom, that machinery and equipment repairs, we're,
Same page?
yeah, we're at 40. And we hadn't been but a few months.
That's probably a motor or something.
What,
Machinery,
You
equipment.
get a motor or something goes out, that'd be $30,000.
yeah, yeah,
Same on that vehicle repair thing too.
yes.
Yeah, there are a good many if I keep on going down. I mean, we got dues and subscriptions, engineering services. I guess on engineering services,
Projects that they look at, you know, that falls
Okay.
under, and you don't know. with
so we're having to
the budget
hire an outside
exactly.
group to come in and do
Yeah,
it.
yes.
Water line repair is almost gone, 20,000.
We
Yeah,
had
we
a lot
had-
of, you remember last meeting, we talked about the issues we've been having with the new well coming on?
Over in
And what kind of,
Buford Street area.
now how do we view that from this point to next June 30th?
We look at trends.
Okay. So
I
we're,
mean, go back and see our budget number that we'll throw out is based on the last 5 or 6 years, what we've done.
so
You know, just depending on the trend.
like our workman's comp, I see that, is they adjusted our premium in that in workman's comp?
Every year it is.
Okay, so that was an increase that we weren't anticipating, they've gone up.
Right, we never know until we get it.
And computer, I guess that was something y'all already scheduled to buy.
What was that one?
Where's that at?
That was down at the bottom, computer maintenance, quarterly fees, and the one above, computer software maintenance.
That's annual. The
So that's the
software
company
and-
you're paying?
Software and maintenance, yes. We have 2 different companies.
Okay. Now miscellaneous, what is in Captain Net, since you're already way over budget?
What page you're on again?
Down at the bottom of that, at miscellaneous, that's,
Yeah, 43 right here. You're talking about 4,300, 3174, is that where you at?
no, we're about You got $100 and we spent $2,232.85 on miscellaneous under 46.003174.
46. Okay, yeah, yes, I can tell you what that
So
is.
just unanticipated cost.
Well, yes, and I'll go ahead and tell you that's credit card charges.
I got you.
And when you say credit card charges.
Now, what do you mean by that?
What it is we take credit cards, credit debits to collect
Okay.
payments.
And that's what the bank charges.
Yeah.
Back, yeah.
Their fees for accepting them.
All right.
Do you want to review that?
Okay. Okay, in our water and sewer, our total non-restricted accounts, we've got $1,594,568 in it. On our restricted accounts, we've got $1,828,079. Total of all cash accounts was $3,422,647. Okay, in our revenues, we have brought in $1,468,901 versus 2018, $1,206,756. But what that has included in it is our CDBG grant and our RIA grant revenues that come in, which was $337,423. Brings that down to $1,131,478 for 2019.
Why are we behind from last year?
All right, and last year, let me tell you that.
So you had some loans?
Yeah, we did. We had our loan, insurance proceeds and grant money of $153,840, which brought that back down to $1,052,962 for revenues, which would,
Just productivity.
which would be the
Productivity.
difference of $78,562 more in 2019 than we did in 18.
Just want to see. if
Yeah, I just want to make sure I
trend.
got you that.
All right.
And then our expenditures for 2019 was $987,530. Year-to-date in 18 was $786,148, a difference of $201,382. And that could include the expense of the grants and motors and stuff like that we have in water and sewer.
How much money we got left for the grant?
And the grants,
Left to
I'd
expend.
have to look, because we got several
Yeah,
of
we
them
got two
going
Two of
on.
them going.
on water and sewer.
Yeah. Okay, on the golf course, in 2019, well, let me tell you, our cash account right now, we had $3,001 in it as of June the 30th. In 2019, our revenues was $50,468. In 2018, it was $50,039, which is $429 more in 19 than it was in 18. And I've transferred $45,000 year-to-date on that, as of June the 30th. Our expenses in 19 was $102,782. In 2018, it was $93,447. Okay, and so $9,335 was spent more in 19 than it was in 18. And also to let you know, we will not be getting our money from the county until January of 2020. So, okay, 2% hospitality funds, we've got it there, as of June the 30th, $975,702. Our revenues for 2019, $158,975. In 2018, it was $149,343, a difference of $9,632 more in revenues in 2019 than 18.
Now, is the county gonna be in position to pay us half of that other back, the 75, or are we gonna get our 50?
They just pay us 50.
Even though we're 6 months out?
It doesn't matter. They do an annual payment of $50,000.
Can you tell me why they won't pay the $50,000?
I could not, I called the finance director Thursday and asked him, could he tell me please when we were gonna get it? And he said it will be January.
I think we got it this past year was January.
I wish we could get them to be a more active part in that golf course. I think they should be.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
I got a question for you, Jack. If I can find it, I had it. It was on the signs and everything. You budgeted,
We're at,
it's the local, A-tax, 3% money.
And look at
The expenses,
the one that's-
the miscellaneous and the signs and the donations, you budgeted 45,000. This month alone, you spent 13,000. Do you know why?
I'd have to look that up and tell you exactly what all was spent on that.
Will you get
but
back
it's
with me and
still-
let me know?
I will be glad to.
Okay.
Good.
Yes, sir.
All right, is that it, Janet?
Yes, sir.
All right. Carolyn Blue, PD Coalition. There she is.
Good evening. My name is Daisha Colvin, and I'm the intern at PD Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. On behalf of the PD Coalition, I would like to thank the council for giving us this time to express our appreciation for your acknowledgement of the necessity of our services. October is National Domestic Violence Month, and our goal is to raise awareness about domestic violence and the effects it has on families and the community. South Carolina has ranked in the top 10 states for the rate of murder of women for the past 17 years, although South Carolina ranks number 6 in the nation, up 1 from last year. South Carolina continues to be one of the deadliest states in the country for women due to domestic violence. At PD Coalition from July 2018 through September 2019, we have provided 190 nights of shelter to victims. We have provided assistance to 85 families and filed 24 orders of protection. To assist victims, we now offer trauma counseling in group sessions or individual sessions. We invite you to our Masking the Pain event on this upcoming Thursday, October 17th, from 7 p.m. through 8 p.m. at the Southern Fried Restaurant here in Dillon. With the help of the community, we can reduce the rate of family violence in Dillon County. Again, we appreciate you as community leaders for your support of the coalition's work to end family violence, and we thank you for helping us make Dillon County a safer, more compassionate community.
Thank you. They had a golf tournament two Fridays ago, and there were 80 teams, and I think they raised. Do you have any idea how much money we raised for the golf tournament?
We haven't gotten into it yet.
Okay. I mean, I'd heard 12, 13, I saw Susan today, and roughly 12, 13,000 is in. So, just a great fundraiser that Purdue actually backs, and Randy Brown puts on and does a great job with. Thank y'all. Thank you for all you do.
For our upcoming fiscal year, we are looking to hire someone to help do fundraising for us, so that we could possibly look at maybe a shelter here in Dillon. That's not written in stone yet.
Yeah.
But just to remind the council that we are still looking for a permanent site. We still do not have one.
Right.
So if anybody know of a place, and we need to keep it centralized here in Dillon to make access to our victims a little bit easier. So we're definitely looking for something that we can renovate if necessary. We're willing to do that. We're going to start offering, once we get into our own building, telecommunications. So many of our victims do not have transportation, so we can offer that to them. So I appreciate your help. I'm sorry, by the way, I'm Carolyn Blue, I'm the county coordinator. So we appreciate your help in looking out for us with that. And as she said, thank you for all the help that you've given us.
How long have y'all been using the golf course and partnering with Purdue?
A couple of years now.
A couple of years?
Mhm.
What were y'all doing before that, before you used the golf
Just
course?
different things. I've actually talked with someone at Harbor Freight. We're trying to get them on board to maybe sponsor maybe something like a 5K race or something like that. So we're still working on that.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laurel Hayes Abandoned Building Act. If
while she's walking up, in your packet, I gave you some information from South Carolina Legislative, Title 12 Taxation, Chapter 67. This information actually has been around about 5 years now, and I spoke with the Municipal Association today, and they don't know too many locations who are utilizing this act. It has been, it was scheduled to be sunset or done away with December of this year, but it was extended until December of 2021.
You want me to go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, y'all. I'm here on behalf of Stephanie and Benjamin Mitchell. They own a building down on Main Street that they just purchased at the beginning of October that has been abandoned for about 5 years, or actually more than 5 years now, since I think about 2008. And Stephanie came to me and says, I found this tax credit thing, I need you to look into it. And so what this ordinance would do is it would provide a credit to her on her property taxes for her revitalizing this building. So what I did was I came to Mr. Glenn and I said, what do you need me to do to get this ordinance in front of y'all? And so what I have given you just now is a copy of the ordinance, and then I've got A through K on there. I've broken it down into sections so that you can see the supporting documents I have for each section, because the law does require that the ordinance have specific findings. And I don't know how detailed y'all want me to get with that, but what it also requires is, of course, that the ordinance be passed by the council of the city, but also it requires involvement from the county and the school board, because those are also taxing entities that would receive that she would be receiving a credit from if this ordinance was passed. And so
Credit meaning just this, she would do this in lieu of the taxes. She wouldn't have to pay the taxes because she's...
the way it would work is she has presented to the county, and there's a copy of it in here under Section B, a notice of intent to rehabilitate. So in there she's got an estimated value of what she thinks it's going to take to complete the building as she wants it for the business that she's going to have in that location. And so what the code says is you take that amount, and then once you figure out exactly how much it costs her to do this, if she's within 80 to 125% of that estimate when she gets her actual expenses finished, then up to 75% of the value that she spent, up to 25% of the value that she spent on revitalizing the building can be given back to her as a tax credit over an 8-year period, starting the year that she puts the building into service, as she's going to have a restaurant there. And so if the ordinance is passed now, the credit doesn't start now, because of course right now her taxes on that are actually zero. But I think they're going to be about $150 this year because it's just an abandoned building. But then once it's in service, that's when the 8-year period starts. She has to pay 25% of her property taxes, but if the ordinance is passed, she gets a 75% break for an 8-year period. We're assuming that 8 years is not going to cover 25% of her rehabilitation costs, so we're assuming she's going to get that full period.
Okay.
What did you purchase the building for?
To, one, make the city look a little better, complete a project.
No, how much did you purchase the building for?
What?
Oh, Johnny, I don't really want to discuss that out in public.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
okay.
personal business.
Well, my
But
question
you
is
can't look it
then,
up on the.
well, my
It's
question
actually
is,
in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the packet. Her deed's
Well, I
in
didn't-
there.
that's what I thought about being
It's
the
in packet A, Part A has her deed in there, so, you can check that.
okay. Well, with that being said, what about the money that's owed to the taxpayers that the man didn't use? What are we gonna do about that, Glenn?
I went to court on what did,
The judge found him guilty.
but I was found guilty not doing what he was supposed to do. Doesn't mean we're gonna get our money back. That's gonna have to be a civil lawsuit.
So it's been ordered to pay it back?
No. He has not been ordered to pay it back.
He's been fined under the city ordinance. and give them their money back to you. And Johnny's talking about
So the taxpayers are out of the money.
it. Unless we sue him and get a judgment, I don't know what he's got, what we got.
Now, the use of the funds, there's the legality behind the non-use of the fund for the particular purpose.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let her finish,
Okay.
you know, because you're getting off the subject.
Yeah, we got off the subject.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just kind of open if y'all got questions or anything. I think the packet will explain it in more detail, but what it will require is, of course, this first reading, and it will require some notice to the county and school board, which I have a proposed notice in here for them to sign, that I'm willing to do all the legwork on this to get it done. And so if y'all have any questions, I'll try to answer them, but.
You can get up to 75% tax. You don't have to pay that tax for 8 years as long as it doesn't exceed what portion of your renovation?
The statute breaks it down to where you give an estimate, and then if you're within 80 to 125% of your estimate, then you get up to 25% off of that, 25% of that rehabilitation cost can be spread over that 8-year period. But if you're over 125% of what your estimated expenses were, 125% is used to calculate that 25% instead of what you actually spent. If you're less than 80%, then you don't get the credit.
But up to 75%.
No, you get 75% off of your property taxes for 8-year period, assuming that
You're around,
that amount does not exceed the 25% of the rehabilitation cost, which in her case, there's no way it's going to.
you wouldn't want to have a building and renovate it for, $100,000 and then get a tax credit of, over an 8-year period of time of, $50,000 or,
Now, make sure Stephanie understands. If the city does this, there's no guarantee that
County or
the
the-
county or the school board is on the hook for this.
There's not, but here's the incentive. Right now, the tax on that building is zero.
Yeah.
If she does nothing with it, I've talked to Ms. Kay McKenzie, the tax is gonna be around $150. If she doesn't get the tax credit and get the incentive to rehabilitate it, then they're getting a percentage,
Of nothing.
of $150 versus a percentage of $300,000.
Because the big bang for the buck would be for you if one school board did something. That's the biggest one.
And I've spoken to the county attorney, and I've spoken to Mr. Doug Broom with the school board, and they have both told me they will accept the notice, but they didn't mention whether or not they're gonna object in any way, of course, but they'll accept the notice.
So really, at this point, we can make a motion.
Not at this point. I've got under new business
Okay.
to do this, or to discuss if you want to do it.
It's a
Ms.
good-
Hayes was here
It's
just
a good thing.
to come across with, and it is, and also found out that, first and foremost, the building has to be what is known as abandoned building, and the definition is in the code.
Created,
Did not create any
Income
income
for 5
for at least no less than 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years or more, it did not have any income generated in that building. That's what's determined as abandoned. I don't really know how many we have of those in town. And I could be wrong, and I don't think I am. Doesn't have to be in the historic district.
It does not.
It could be anywhere within.
It can be in the county or the city,
Yeah.
but we're talking
Yeah,
specifically.
so, there's opportunities that, thank you, Stephanie, for finding that, because she did. And as I said, as I talked to the municipal association, they know about it, they push for it, but very few people are taking it. And those that know of taking it have gone the other route, done it on the personal income and not the property income side. So,
any
Benny,
more questions for?
The buildings that were just bought down the street, you know which ones I'm talking about, trying to get the fourth one. That would work with that, correct?
Yeah, it could
Could.
and we have to go, we know for a fact this one didn't do anything for the last 5 years or more, producing income. I don't know about those, and that's part of our, you know,
Well, those haven't been rented in.
yeah, as each person comes in to request this, it's an ordinance per property, and this doesn't cover everybody. This just covers, in essence, what Stephanie's project is. If somebody else wanted to do it, we have to go through the same process
I got you.
for each and every one of them. But right now, this is still on the books until 2021, December 2021. So,
What's your time frame to get the building demolished and get everything situated and going?
I'm having a hard time getting estimates. I do have several estimates. Once I get the project completely quoted to me, and I'm happy with the number, because while I can afford a large number, I cannot sleep at night with a large number. So depending on where we come out, I could start as early as probably December or January is what we're thinking. Once we get the estimates and get a general contractor that is ready to sign off on this project, we are ready to go.
Any other questions from Ms. Hay?
I do want to just, not on behalf of Stephanie, but just on behalf of the city, this was originally set to be repealed on December 31st of 2019. They have, the legislature's extended it to 2021, but it's not going to be there forever. So it would be great if we could find some way to let the city know, so maybe some other people would get involved. And the abandoned buildings now, it will not apply if you're the person that was owning it at the time it became abandoned. So that's just another. Have to be. Thank y'all so much.
Mary McKenzie, Seaboard Railroad Spur.
this is attorney night.
Yeah, it's all right, good crowd.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
I'm here for Bradley Turner. I've got a few packets. I don't know the procedure, but if you'll take one and pass it down if you don't mind. Pretty simple. Mr. Turner, who owns Turner's Auto Mart, has been in his family for decades. He wants to buy a portion of an old abandoned railroad spur. He recently bought a lot of land owned by Arthur Tompkins. Pittsburgh paints that area and the old trailer repair building. He bought all that, so now effectively property he owns brackets this portion of an old abandoned railroad spur on three different sides. And as you can see from the packet, it fronts East Hudson Street for about 45 feet. It's about 125 feet long. The one outlined in Sharpie is the one that he wants to purchase. If you'll look north of that, you'll see another lightly outlined parcel of the same exact shape but inverted. That's one that the city deeded to Arthur Tompkins in 1998. And they deeded it to him by a quitclaim deed. And basically, it's a simple deed saying whatever we have, we grant it to you. And they referenced their acquiring that property in a deed that was in 1929 given to the Seaboard Airline Railroad. So they could build this nice railroad spur. Well, they didn't use it. It's considered abandoned. That's what the records show. So in the past, Mr. Tompkins' deed, as you can see it in there, this first page is a printout from the GIS website. Then there's the deed I've drafted, should you grant Mr. Turner the ability to purchase this land. And then there's the old deed that was granted by the city to Mr. Arthur Tompkins in deed book 308, page 175, and that was 1998. And after that, there's a little affidavit. And then you can see, I think this is a 1936 plat showing the spur. And coming down through here, if you turn here, this is if you look at 301 this way, if you're going south, there's old Pittsburgh paints and the trailer repair place, and then there's Turner's Auto Mart here. So Turner's Auto Mart's here. He's bought this, and this. So now he wants this portion. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. He's hoping you'll agree to do a quick claim deed like you've done for Arthur Tompkins in 1998. I believe it's for $1. The property's not being used. I think it's a hazard for a city just to own it. It's just a little abandoned piece of property and kind of a throughway. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
What this is the city, or back then the town, owned this property. They deeded it over to this railroad company, and in that deed, I think it said if it becomes abandoned, it comes back to the city.
That's how we currently own it.
And how big is that?
It's about 45 by 125 by
Okay.
4,000 square feet?
45 feet by
125.
And it's in the middle of his properties now.
Yeah, he brackets it on 3 sides now since he's bought Arthur Tompkins' property.
And if it's something you want to do, next month we'll bring back an ordinance, because that has to be done in the ordinance form.
All right, do we just instruct you to do that, and then
Well, no, I mean, I can go ahead and do it. I can go do it, you either vote for it or not. I'm just trying to give you.
I'll make a motion that we do it.
I second.
All those in favor?
For me to bring back an ordinance.
Right.
I think, that's the only way I can do it.
That is correct.
Bring back an
That's
ordinance. Okay.
So Larry, if you get with me here in the next week or two, we'll walk through it, or Jack, whichever one.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Larry. Yeah.
Glad you came dressed, not in your soccer uniform.
This is my soccer uniform. I'm a professional.
It is kind of great to see your age and Lauren, and Matt, the people that grew up here coming back and, participating in, the city, and we thank them. Anyway. Citizens report. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening. To the Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, Dr. Phil Wallace, to the Honorable Council members assembled here this evening, and to the City Administrator, Mr. Glenn Wagner, who works tirelessly to ensure that the City of Dillon functions efficiently and effectively. My name is Rachel Covington Banks. I'm here along with my sister.
Speak a little louder.
Oh, I'm sorry. Again. My name is Rachel Covington Banks. I'm here with my sister, Doris Covington, along with my brother in his absence, my husband, Cullen Banks. We reside at 507 South 6th Avenue in Dillon. We were born and raised here. I was brought up in the public schools here in Dillon. So I congratulate the newly elected councilman. Our councilman in our community is Timothy Kelser, our neighbor. I'd like to congratulate Mr. J. David, who incidentally owns property adjacent to our property. So I'd like to speak to this body to address issues that continue to impact our community, commonly referred to as the bottom. I've come back to the community after living elsewhere for quite a few years. Should you not be familiar with the bottom, it begins approximately at South 2nd Avenue. It runs approximately to South 10th Avenue, and it might even go beyond further, all south of Main Street. In the 2 years that I've been back, it's interesting to note, as others have observed, a seemingly disparity of services between the north side of town, on the south side of Dillon versus the north side of Dillon. It is not my intention to cast any aspersions upon anyone nor any department here in the city of Dillon. I applaud Councilman Kelser, our neighbor, for stepping up to represent our community. He is about to deal with some issues. I'm certain that he and his family have witnessed the same issues that we have experienced after living in the bottom all of our lives. Our family home was built by our father, Lawrence Covington. That was built close to about 100 years ago. It stands as a testament to our family's hard work, diligence, and commitment to the community in the bottom. It is our concern that we've witnessed several differences in the application of service treatment between the two areas, i.e. the northern section of Dillon versus the southern section of Dillon. For example, Duke Energy trimmed and pruned all the trees on the northern side of Main Street, yet the identical power lines on the south side of Main Street were not. I called Duke Energy to inquire. There was no explanation. Why should this be an issue? I raised the question because it addresses the disparity of services. After my call on last week, they did indicate that they would address the issue in 5 to 10 business days. I want to believe that they will. A parent questioned why. The issue raises more questions confronting our community known as the bottom. Trash, deplorable conditions seem to worsen. Those who own properties in that area are abandoned, unoccupied, and in deplorable conditions. Should they be held accountable? Those with the worst have ignored being in the bottom. We know who they are. This is not seen in the northern section of Dillon, but why in the bottom? Some years ago, I walked our community seeking signatures for the installation of a crime watch sign, which was successfully achieved, thanks to Mr. Douglas Purnell. The question remains, why? Illustrating again the apparent disparity between our northern and southern areas for simply like services. When discarded items are for trash pickup, why is it necessary to call the city for removal? That does not appear to happen to our neighbors in the north side of Main Street. Why? Additional documentation is evidenced by the ditch, the canal, which surrounds the city, flowing southward, approximately 100 feet from our home. The last hurricanes of Matthew and Florence flooded our home as a result of an unmaintained ditch. The cause was the result of debris, trash, styrofoam cups, bottles, everything. I know that the city now has a budget item to hire 2 employees to monitor and report these issues. I encourage council's support for this effort. I state for the record that we've met with city administrator to address our concerns regarding the above mentioned, as well as city emergency management coordinator several times. We've also attended and made a presentation, my husband did, before the county's Hazard Mitigation Planning Committee, raising concerns as to their responsibilities dealing with hurricane flooding. We also met and discussed these same issues with the county administrator. For the record, the last Hurricane Dorian, we did not experience overflowing amounts of water in the ditch, the canal, as previously experienced from Hurricanes Matthew and Florence. I believe that this was the result of the cooperative efforts working together between the city and County of Dillon to address the water flow issue. I commend Mr. Wagner, Mr. Clyburn, and Mr. Moses Hayward for their cooperative work. It's a known fact that we are experiencing an environmental phenomenon. never experienced before. Many fail to recognize. It's interesting to note that many young people have taken the initiative to address this issue, while many politicians do not. As you know, the area, the bottom, will continue to be an ill-affected area unless council recognizes and appropriates necessary financial resources to address these apparent discrepancies. Lastly, addressing our concerns of disparity. When one does not see beyond their horizon, the living conditions of others are not seen. At the rear, the back of our home, the rear of our property, should one peer beyond their horizon, guess what's located? A junkyard. Fence broken down, overgrown weeds, discarded appliances, old cars, stored without regard to the safety and dignity of our community. The bottom. The ditch that flows beyond our property is filled with debris. When brought to the attention of this matter, we were advised, talk to the owner, and he will do something. We did speak, as directed. The only thing I know is that the property has worsened. Why? Disparity of treatment in the bottom. That's located right behind our property. I ask, who shall speak to those who are unable, unwilling to address the issues and concerns for those with little resources? Who shall speak to those who feel they don't count? Who shall speak? Who shall speak to those who have little voice, or those who refuse and are afraid to yield to those with a big voice? The more affluent who stand in the shadows be allowed to go free without penalty for their infractions? I don't think so. So to whom shall we speak? With my little voice, Rachel Covington Banks, I've spoken. I will continue to speak truth to power. I've moved back into the community. I will implore that the council recognize and address these problems and ensure that our community, the bottom, be serviced without indifference. Thank you. I will leave a copy of this report with council if you would like. I will be glad to. Thank you.
The ditch that she's
If there are
referring to.
questions, I can ask anyone that would have any questions concerning the bottom.
That ditch she's talking about, Phil, is a Ninth Avenue ditch. It goes across my land.
Yeah.
Back in the
It's the lowest-
70s, when I was young, they had that ditch down about 10 to 15 feet, but it's completely full. But it used to be our main flow at one time, but they've covered it up. I think off of Hudson, they tiled it, and another spot they tiled it. But the pipe down there is pretty small, and it collects, and it goes across, and it floods everybody down there. But
And the bottom, obviously,
Goes to
is
Maple
the
Swamp.
lowest elevation point in the city of Dillon. And of course, if there is flooding, guess where all the water goes? Right down where? To the bottom.
right.
Yeah.
How many days does Duke Energy have, how many more days does Duke Energy have to respond?
They gave me 7 to 10 business days. That was last Thursday. So I certainly hope they will come to the bottom. The trees need pruning, they need cutting. They're all entwined with power lines. It's easy to see, it's very visible. Go across Main Street. All of those trees are pruned and cut and trimmed. Come down to the bottom, not so. You have to wonder why the disparity. Why?
Thank you.
Let them know that if those trees fall on those lines,
The entire
Mary
community.
Baptist Church and the entire community
will be effective, be impacted. Yes, yeah. That's where it starts, that's where the bottom starts. Problem, and that.
After I spoke with you last week, I called Duke as well for you.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Now, those particular trees in question, is that on the rotation with them? Is is attention going to be brought?
Yeah, that's just something,
What did they tell you, Glenn?
they look into it. And that's just my contact that I have with Duke. And usually they'll come through, I mean, they did some work, we had some trouble with them, I don't know, back during the summer, Bert, over here, where they were cutting and leaving everything in the doggone road, and we told them they couldn't do that.
And we were having to go pick it up.
So, you know, we're at the mercy of Duke at this point. I mean, we don't get into power lines. One, we're not equipped to, and two, it's not our power lines. It's there, so we don't mess with those. But that has been followed up with.
Anyone else, citizens report?
I'd like to speak to what you addressed earlier about the planners and those types of things downtown. I know Bridget talked, it might have been last meeting or the meeting before, about our master plan. When is that supposed to come through, Bridget? Whether we'll know or not, whether we get the funding for that?
We should hear from that, it was in November.
So in November, we should have a notice whether we're getting the funds for that master plan. And that master plan will help us develop whether, we need new landscaping, whether we should pull up that landscaping. I think they probably might be able to do some, I don't know, I'm just talking off the top of my head, planners and maybe, color schemes for the buildings and that kind of stuff. So we are working on that through our planning committee. And also, I want to say, what's the name of my division that I'm chairman and I get the job done, but I don't even know what the name is. Organization. So on my committee, we are going to take upon as one of our jobs to try to take care of those planters. And we've already talked about maybe putting some lights in the trees. Of course, I know, all that will have to be approved, but that's something we can take upon ourselves as that committee to get that done. And hopefully, maybe by December, we can even put, some white lights in them or something, so that they don't have to be changed out all the time. It just looks nice. But that's something that my committee is planning to do. And then as well, I've also been tasked to develop a downtown, I don't really want to call it a business owners association. I'd rather call it maybe an improvement committee or development committee or something like that with the business owners as well, because I don't want it to be called business owners, because I don't want to exclude any other community member that may want to join that doesn't necessarily own a business. But I can tell you that we're working towards getting our nonprofit status and getting a plan to, just like I researched on my own to find things to draw people into downtown. We're doing that to say, hey, this is what we have to offer you, and come to Dillon because you can get in now on the ground floor while everything is cost effective and, really prosper when this town grows. But, grant funding is hard to find for one thing, and I truly came upon this thing for me just because I was researching for grant money for other stuff. So it just takes time,
Digging.
And digging, you're right, and digging. So I do want to say that I did contact the economic development person, Clay, and I have not heard back from him. But I know Bridget's we want to do this as well, get that packet together so that we can just say, hey, you're looking at a business downtown in Dillon, bam, this is what we can offer you, So and speaking of that, I know Glenn and I have talked about the sewer and water connections. So that's something that we need to get on the, I guess, an approved ordinance
Well,
for
what
it,
she's
or-
talking about, if you remember, Jay wouldn't have been here at the time, back in February, I brought you a list of proposed incentives for new construction, and one of them was water and sewer
Pre-tax.
permits, hospitality tax, decrease over a period of time. I'll bring that back in November, and if you have any else that you want to add, you can add in and bring it back to it, because we need to put that in place.
But I feel you when people say, when you say the first thing people look at is our crime rate. But as citizens and community members, we also have to step up and say, it is not all our crime rate, because we do get stuff that flows over from North Carolina to our town that happens to get arrested here that doesn't really belong to us. So it's not all our crime rate, but we also have to step up and say, this is our home. It's a nice place to live and raise a family. Please come join us.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Stephanie, you said you're the chairman of the, you don't want to call it association or whatever, but.
Oh, the one that I'm getting together.
How often do your business owners meet?
No, we are getting it together.
Y'all
We
getting it
don't
together.
have a chairman or
Don't have a
anything
chair.
like that. We've got to establish our nonprofit status first before we can have that board and the meetings and all that.
Okay.
Once we get that established, we want to meet monthly.
Gotcha.
Okay, anybody else, citizens? Okay, let's move on to old business, none, new business, purchase of a new vehicle for the street department.
We talked about this last month, and it was a motion made but never gathered a second, and I was asked to bring it back for this month. This is a pickup truck, goes in Burke's department through state contract, $36,000. It's from Herndon Chevrolet through the state contract.
That's four-wheel drive. Presently, Burke doesn't have four-wheel drive. And with the additional oversight of this storm drainage, that's become problematic as I understand. Comment?
You got any comments, Jay?
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback, and I asked for the fleet mileage on each vehicle and the repair cost per year. And they were all at high mileage vehicles. And I think from a nutritional standpoint of view, some of these need to be rolled out. We had one that was jumped at 185. We're running about $35,000 a year in repair costs, and of course with the age fleet that Burt has, it's going to just get greater. And I see the need in it.
I have a couple questions. Why are we buying a $36,000 vehicle when we're in the operating budget? We talked about this 3 months ago. Where are we gonna get the money, Glenn?
It'll come out of our depreciation money in general fund.
Okay, we took $30,000 for the upfit grants. The employees couldn't get a raise. Okay? Why are we buying a vehicle for the department head? Him to pass a vehicle down. When you could, if you really needed it, you buy it for the employees who can use it in a work day. And you can buy two for the cost of one, if you really needed it. But Dr. Wallace has mentioned many times to me, don't come at the 11th hour and try to get something, okay? So I'm trying to figure out now, why are we gonna allow this to happen?
That's between y'all and Loud.
Well, I mean, I already know they've already talked amongst themselves.
What I'm saying
what's
is,
gonna happen.
I understand. What I'm saying is, I was asked to bring it, and that's what I'm doing.
And I understand that, but I just want to know, we couldn't find the money for the employees, but we can find it now for one person to get a vehicle at $36,000, and it's gonna be top to bottom, boom. I don't understand it. The first responders, our police officers, we just slapped them in the face. That's what we just did. If this passes, we have slapped them in the face. Because those are the ones that are protecting our community. I'm directing the questions to you, Glenn.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear from them.
That's right, that's right. And I don't have an answer for you. I brought it to council, it's for y'all to pass or put down.
I mean, I understand his concerns, but I mean, it's all an intricate part of our budget line. Vehicles, people.
Yeah, vehicles for the employees to use, not for one person to get and pass his down just because he needs a new vehicle. That don't make good sense.
But all his vehicles, y'all.
What about the other people that's got older vehicles than he does?
I make the motion by truck.
Can I get a second?
I second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Wow.
All right, let me make a comment. One, I think we talked about what we were gonna do about the employees and, giving them $10, or so a pay period, or give them Christmas bonus.
It was Christmas bonus.
And everybody wanted to do Christmas bonus. We haven't turned our back on anybody. We have pretty much written that into the budget. So, you're being a little dramatic. with
Okay,
that.
hold on a minute. How many of the department heads have had a raise in the last couple of years, Glenn? Now, you want to go here, we're going to go here. Has all your department heads had a raise?
I've had, all of them had a raise. I've had as many employees have had raises because I've been asked to give them raises.
Now, won't they get the Christmas bonus too?
Yep.
Okay, so that's where I'm going. And let's be fair to the hourly employees. That's what I'm asking this council to look at.
Okay, the next one is ordinance 19-06, Abandoned Buildings Act.
This is the ordinance that Ms. Hayes was discussing in her brief summary of the South Carolina Abandoned Buildings Revitalization Act, where it would give property owners an opportunity to get a tax credit for abandoned buildings.
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
I thought we had already,
No,
okay.
that wasn't.
Vote?
Did.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we strike the third one, council member report, Mr. Eller?
Okay, I want to ask you about the LED lighting for the town. Have that's been situated now?
They did those on Main Street, which we didn't request. They changed all those in the business district on Main Street. They should begin here in the next month or so, hopefully on 301.
Okay, and I was saying on 301, did you ever talk to somebody about
Yes.
putting the lighting on
Yeah.
34?
Yep.
Or what did you find out
We're
about that
going
one?
to get some on those poles there.
Okay. All right, we got a new time clock with the city, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Is the salary employees, are they punching the time clock?
I think everybody is except myself.
Okay.
And what we did, we went from an older manual where you put a card in, now it's fingerprint.
Yeah. So my question is to you, if an employee is 2 or 3 minutes late, how is that deducted on their time card, I mean, their time sheet? I just want to,
It's 7, anything after 7 minutes of
Okay.
the hour, that's when it's, what is it?
is it 15 minutes?
15
They're not
minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then anything, you can't clock in no earlier than 7 minutes prior to your
Then
time.
you get 15 minutes.
Okay. Chief Lane, I want to ask you about the motels out here. There's crime going on out there. I know you're aware of what's going on. What are we doing to eliminate this mess out here going on?
We have folks that are staying there, and that is when they don't have a place to live, and that's where they're going. So the folks, we've got a drug problem out there, we know we've got a drug problem, we've got informants going in there buying drugs. I mean, we are actively working on it. I mean, it is a problem. It's a problem for us.
Are we making any headway with it, David? Do you think we are? What do we need to do anything different? I mean, are we doing anything? I mean, this is really a big problem.
Well, I mean, you arrest one and you got two to take the place.
Okay.
Are the people that are living there, do you think they're from here, or like I said, are they?
Yeah, they're from here. Most of them are from here.
So,
And they'll go and they'll stay out there for a week at a time.
because they're homeless? Because, I mean, or that's their choice?
Well, a combination of both.
So maybe we need to look at our homeless shelter here?
That's all I had, Dr. Walker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
Where we at on them buildings with the fines on Main Street? I know some of them been charged and some of them have been. So where we at with that?
You said buildings on Main Street?
Yeah, you know when we go, to get the thing to them and find them?
Those that were written summons, I don't remember how many of those were. How many were those?
We're written 10 summons already. 3 was found guilty. 1 requested jury trial. And we have 5 pending to come before the municipal court judge. And we have an additional 3 we're waiting for their time to expire. They will also, if they haven't pulled permits, necessary approvals, and write news tickets as well.
All right, so when they ask for a jury trial, how long is it gonna take for them to get a jury trial for?
I don't know, Jack.
You know what they would do?
I don't have any control over it. It'll take a while.
So, you can't,
Expedite when they schedule them.
but that's what I mean. Can't you schedule and pick them, or they bunch them ahead, or what?
That's when the 2 attorneys have to agree to a certain date.
Can I make a comment? Glenn, on the last meeting we had on the street signage, is that being looked at? I see some sitting on the ground.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Some had.
Some are
been
missing, some on the
replaced,
ground.
yeah. And in some cases, we put them up and they go
That could
the next
affect
day.
911, that's why I was really concerned.
Yes.
You good?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't have anything.
Tim?
I have the same damn ditto on what Johnny was saying about that. I don't have the problem with the motel. We have the problem in our neighborhood. Just like we were saying about, he was saying about the drug. We got people walking around all times of night, and I kind of said something one time before about it, but I haven't seen nobody in the neighborhood riding around. I mean, to make yourself present, you can go up there to Manning and sit on the block, and yeah, I mean, if you're there, you can stop some of it. If you see an officer, they're not gonna stop and buy drugs. You got them riding golf carts through the neighborhood, buying drugs. You got them walking all times of night. I leave, if I come home at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, they walking like it's Main Street. I mean, something's got to be, if they can go out there and ride up down Rafferty Boulevard, stopping people from not putting on turn signals, they need to come patrol some of these areas too and stop some of this stuff.
And we have discussed it, and they have gone to the patrols in that neighborhood.
All right. And that's it.
Can I get a motion to adjourn and go into executive session?
To discuss possible exchange of land between the city of Dillon and First Bank.
I'll second.